They call that time period the 60s scoop. I was in late 1950s, but there was a raft of Indian kids being taken away from grandparents and family and adopted over to white families.
They call that whole generation the lost birds
Yeah.
because so many of them were taken away from reservations. Some of them find their way back. Lena did. And I mean, that has shaped our lives since then.
Yeah. Lujun indinwe maganadag, midway ashka gitchkamekwe, indigo, makwanindo dem, nindiri bun mikanak wadri nonjabayaban. So that's a traditional Ojibwe introduction. It tells you what my spirit name is. It tells you my clan, which is Bear. It tells you that my father was from Turtle Mountain Reservation. I was born in Montana, and I was adopted at 13 months and then moved east when I was 4. I knew I was adopted from the get-go, but my parents didn't tell me I had native blood until I was in my 20s because it's not cool in Montana to be native. My mom said they didn't want the relatives to put a feather in my hair. So like if I did anything wrong, they would go, oh, well, she's got native blood. And then it wasn't until I was in my 40s that I went, the Washington Post had a article in their travel section, and it said Journeys into Native American Territory. And there was a journey to Navajo land, and a journey to a Sioux reservation, and a journey to an Ojibwe reservation. And it was a reconstructed Ojibwe village. So I got to sleep in a wigwam and paddle a birch bark canoe. So I went there, and it was just like this huge hole opened up. I wanted to find out more about my people. So Dave and I started watching these Ojibwe language classes. We had to go to McDonald's in order to get internet. So we would sit in the parking lot at McDonald's singing these stupid little Ojibwe songs. Mukama Jesus, now a quay, now a quay. And one of the things I love is in the language you can say, who did you see today? And you can say, I saw Maple. Because it's animate and they have the same standing as humans. And that's what I always felt. We live in a little holler, eastern part of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and I majored in forestry when I was in college. All these tree people are kind of like family to me. It was like I finally had a language for what I already believed in.
I was a kid that was brought up in the woods. And when I encountered Lena's culture and the culture of her people, I started seeing how they were working with the land that I knew so well. And all of a sudden, it started to make a whole lot more sense. Their language has words for a lot of things that were important to me.
Ma king omane bikong gichi manadu miigwich mijiag nungong gishikak jawe nimishim mang for all of us.
Mong.
Jawe nimishim mang. Uduko wishana. Dave and I do everything together. We work together. We create things together. We teach together. I do a lot of beadwork. Dave has always done beadwork too. Ojibwe call beads little spirit seeds.
I also run an outdoor school. We teach a lot about just awareness in nature. Do you see where the leaves are ruffled up? Right here, and they're not right here. Shelter building, fire making, plants and plant identification, medicine making, and
How to be in relationship with the land and all the beings on the land.
at Blue Heron, what really happens is I'm teaching a lot of very practical stuff, and Lena is teaching people more about the connection. There's been kind of a big movement towards wildcrafting and things like that, and that's not what we're teaching. I think it takes quite a lot of skill to be able to go out and harvest plants in the wild, because unless you have the tracking skills to see what kind of animals are using that plant and what's been happening in the environment,
And you've got to
then
know how to spread the seed. You need
right,
to know how to harvest so that you're not hurting the plants.
right.
So whenever we pick berries, whenever we pick plants, medicines, food, we put down tobacco and thank them for their gift. And usually if I'm doing medicines, I ask if I have permission or not. And they can say no. You can't just take ceremony and things like that from different people, but you can look to other cultures for truths. I grew up in the suburbs. I grew up white. My heart is Ojibwe. My path is to walk between the worlds. The dominant culture does not work. The consumer. There's another way of being in the world that has you living in right relationship and walking in a good way. It's really important to teach people how to do that.
Gimme guechi wena me go, gijo wena me go. Nibi gizagi go, gimme guechi wena me go, gijo wena me go.
That was hard going high.
It was harder going low. Nibi gizagi go, gimme guechi wena me go, gijo wena